Hello, everyone, and welcome to our halftime interview series. I am your host, Sammy Pavlov, field hockey player at Smith and a recent alum just about. Thank you, for all the support and love to the class of 2020. We say thank you, and we have entered Smith's huge family of alum. So, I'm coming to you with that wisdom of a Smith graduate. And I am so excited today. It is quite an honor to have a fellow Smith alum, a Smith athlete, a member of the Board of Smith Trustees, professor of kinesiology, and associate dean in College of Science and Mathematics at California Polytechnic State University, Dr. Camille O'Brien.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, Dr. O'Brien. It's so nice to have you today. We were just chatting before the interview started, and you have such a great energy, and, you're kind of a queen of Zoom, it seems, and it's so nice to have you with us today.
It's great to be with you all, and go Smith, go Pioneers. Woo-hoo!
Yeah, go Nears. So just to get right in, you spent a total of 6 years at Smith, both in your undergraduate where you studied French, you were a student athlete, and then you went on to the master's program in exercise sports science. Can you tell us about your experience during this time at Smith?
Definitely, yeah. So I was at Smith, as you said, 4 years as an undergrad where I majored in French studies. And then I took a year off where I was working and rowing in a club crew program in Boston, and then came back because I knew I really, really wanted to coach women and teach and be in a higher ed environment. And the graduate program in exercise and sports studies was exactly what was the thing that was going to help me fulfill those dreams. And so I came back and spent 2 years in that graduate program. Then I actually stayed at Smith for a little bit longer. I worked in student affairs as an area coordinator for 2 years from 1986 to 88. And then I was a lecturer, an instructor at Smith full-time where I taught activity classes, swimming, rowing, synchronized swimming. And I was coaching sometimes crew, but also swimming and diving. So I have a long history with Smith College and Smith College athletics, and the experience was quite honestly the thing that kept me in school. If it wasn't for athletics, I would not have stayed at Smith College, period, full stop.
You know what, I feel the same way. I have to agree, and it just gives you that extra experience. I mean, looking back now, what are some of your biggest takeaways from all that time at Smith? And maybe you can mention some of your favorite memories.
Oh, wow. So thinking as we're coming up on graduation and illumination and the global illumination with our virtual world of physical distancing and the current pandemic, some of my favorite memories at Smith was the lead up to the celebration of students graduating and all the different traditions at Smith College, especially for a while. This is old ancient history, but the lanterns used to actually, for illumination night, used to be candles inside of them, not like battery operated candles, but actually lit flames. And it was a staff member's job every year to repair all the lanterns that had been burned, the paper lanterns. Mm-hmm. And the person who used to do that job was also worked at the boathouse at the pond, keeping, it was Francis Wood, and after he retired, it was James Smith. And so some of my favoriteest memories really in between classes, when I should have been studying probably, sitting on the docks at the steps of the boathouse there at Paradise Pond and chatting with Francis or James as they repaired those lanterns, helping people learn how to row singles or, help them get boats out on the pond. The head of the Paradise Regatta, that was always great fun at Parents Weekend. I don't know if they probably stopped doing that when they got rid of the...
do that, but I have been down to the boathouse, and if you are at Smith or just stopping by to visit, it's definitely one of the biggest parks there, and it's beautiful when it's spring or, in the fall.
Yeah,
it is so fun.
Indeed, all the time. And so I feel like those, like connecting with my classmates there in between classes, connecting with the staff, talking, and then as a grad student teaching classes there, those are all the things that really kept me energized, right? Like using sports and exercise as a way to sort of express myself and have fun and compete. I never even knew field hockey, really. I know you played field hockey. I didn't even know that game until I went to Smith College.
Most people don't. It's very regional, but, that's like the beauty of it. I didn't know much about rowing until I went to Smith. So you really get exposed to different sports and sports that you can continue on after Smith as well.
Exactly. My roommate in grad school, her mom played field hockey for her club team in England until she was 82.
Right? You're kidding.
No, not kidding. She literally, until she became sort of too frail with Alzheimer's, was still playing field hockey. And so a lot of people don't think of it as a lifetime sport, but it really can be if we make it.
Yeah, you are so right. And so Smith like roots your passion for sports, and then you go on to get a PhD in sport, leisure, and thematic studies from the Ohio State University. Can you talk about that? You know, what
Yes.
made you go get your PhD and such?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What really pushed me that way is, again, I knew I wanted to teach and coach in college. And so to be able to do that, you need a terminal degree, a PhD. But also, I came through Smith as a woman of color and in a sport that's a pretty elite sport. Very few women look like me, men, that are African American or other people of color in the sport of rowing, especially at the elite levels. And so some of my own personal experiences with being othered or treated with disrespect. And when I became a coach, actually it got worse. So it was one thing for people to shout out expletives, as I was rowing, not so much at Smith, but especially after I was rowing in Boston and on Boston Rowing Club at Harvard University. But I was at a swim meet, age group swim meet, and somebody called security on me because they thought I wasn't supposed to be on the pool deck. And so I got more and more curious about why is it that people think that some folks can do some sports and some folks can do other sports because of the color of their skin or their sexual orientation or their size or their shape. And so that talking with my mentors and things, they're like, well, you could study this in sociology. This is what sociologists study. They talk about institutions and equity and access. And then I was coaching synchronized swimming of all things. And I was at a swim meet in Worcester in a blizzard and talking to the head coach at Ohio State, Mary Jo Ruggieri. She's like, why don't you come to Ohio State and do your PhD and study the, race and ethnicity and gender in sport? And that's kind of, fast forward a few years later, I go to Ohio State and I teach sports and gender, sport, media, and popular culture, sociology and psychology of sports and exercise. And I've always, in my career, been focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion issues, mostly because of my own experiences as an athlete at Smith College.
So it really did come from your passion at Smith to carry you on to your PhD, and then fast forward a little bit further, and now you are a professor, and then you are named associate dean. What's it like now on the other side? You learned a lot from Smith, and now you're teaching a lot. Well, what is that perspective like?
I tell you, it's like coming full circle in some ways. There's still things I use in my teaching and my work every day as an associate dean that I learned through my experiences at Smith College. And occasionally that means I can speak French with French-speaking students, which is always a bonus, right? Or French-speaking faculty members. But more often than not, it's helping, because my journey through Smith College wasn't always smooth sailing at all, quite honestly, for a lot of different reasons. And I learned from my mistakes as well as the support of other coaches and teachers and mentors. And now I'm able to do the same thing in my current role as an associate dean for student success in my college at Cal Poly, right? We a lot of students who are struggling to find their fit, their connection. What sports teaches us, or has the potential to teach us, is how to build connection with other people. Even in a competitive environment, you can be very connected. And so a lot of folks struggle with that. And I help to, facilitate their development as students the same way that I was able to have my development facilitated as a student athlete at Smith College, and even before I went to Smith College. So nice to kind of build on that legacy.
That is awesome. And, one of my, not regrets, but I didn't start taking ESS classes at Smith until my senior year. And you really get to learn another side of sports. And as you said, the road at Smith is not always, beautifully trajected. And there's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of room for improvement, both at Smith and the Smith athletic community. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, you're also, in 2015, you joined the board of trustees at Smith.
Yeah.
What is that like? Like, what, if you're trying to tell someone like what you do on the day-to-day, what's it like? Like, that is truly the other side of decision-making of Smith.
Oh my gosh. The life of a trustee, and I was a 4-year term, so I'm not a trustee right now. My term is ended last spring, but I thought I knew a lot about Smith College, and I thought I knew a lot about higher education. And because I've been somehow, some way in working in higher education since 1984. So that's a long time, right? And, but what is neat about being on the other side is to see the trustees don't do the day-to-day work of the college. That's the faculty, staff, and students. We're there, to make sure that the college is handling its money responsibly, that, that's living up to the policies and procedures that they have, that faculty, staff, and students have established, right? We're not to do it for them. So and most of the trustees are alums. So we're like super duper passionate about Smith College. And we want Smith College to be not as good as it was when we were there, but better than it could be. Like, we can't think about what Smith was. We're looking about what Smith can be, going forward, right? And so my day-to-day work as a trustee would really vary depending on which committee I was on. We meet 4 times a year in person, or now Zoom-like. And in between meetings, committees we get briefed by students, faculty, staff who deal with various issues, whether it's curriculum or financial issues or housing issues or physical plant, all different kind of things. And I think as presidents go, I've lived through multiple Smith presidents in my lifetime. And I think Kathy McCartney's presidency has been a really good one because she's not shied away from some of the difficult conversations. Not everybody always agrees with what the administration does, but the administration is only going to be as good as it can be based on student involvement and voice. And that's what I love about Smith College is student voice and involvement matters.
And they use it, and Smithies use their voice. That is
exactly.
Sure. And I can let you know, I can attest to that. They
awesome.
are still using their voices even now. Yes. And I guess my last question for you would be, what are some words you have to current Smith athletes or just students in general? Next year it looks, as you're dealing with this right now, it is so up in the air. What are some words of encouragement or any words you have for them?
Oh, I got so many words of encouragement. I think for the most part, the first thing that comes to mind is you matter, your voices matter. A lot of times I think students and student athletes, especially, we get so busy or caught up and we think we're the only ones that are kind of going through stuff and, not realizing that there are a lot of people who do exist to help. We can't, I can't take a student's chemistry class for them, but if they're struggling in a class or they're struggling with trying to figure out how to, balance their academics with athletics and they don't talk to somebody, how can we help, right? And so it's in those conversations that students have with their faculty or their staff peers, their coaches, that's where you learn and grow. It's not just what you do in the classroom. It's all the relationships and opportunities for network building that happen around, inside, and between the classroom or on the athletic field or on the river, depending on, what you're doing.
Yeah, depending on the sport, where you're at.
Right,
yeah.
Depending on the sport and where you're at. So if you're able, kind of tricky with swimming, but talk to people, right? Try not, regardless of whether you're shy or not, doesn't matter. Use your voice. You deserve to be there. We're lucky to have everybody at Smith. And all Smithies matter.
Yes. And, thank you. Those are some words of encouragement that I'm taking to heart. I know it's very hard during this time of social distancing, to feel that connection. But, as you say, Dr. O'Brien, we still need to use our voices and stay involved. And that's about all the time we have. I want to thank you so much. I know it went by quick, doesn't it?
It goes by way too fast. And I have my little lantern ready for global illumination on Saturday. I'm ready to rock and roll.
You're so sweet. I need to get a lantern too, and celebrate, the last 4 years and continue to celebrate the years to come. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day for this interview. It is, it was so insightful to have and speak with you. You're so exciting, have a great energy. I really enjoyed it. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this interview. Please enjoy the rest of the softball game. And then next week on Friday at 7 p.m., we'll be featuring Smith soccer versus Clark. So everyone take care. I'm your host, Sammy Pavlov. Be safe, stay well, and thank you.